Welcome back to Freedom Express. I am your host, Mato Janvier.
My name is Espar Nindeba. And welcome to Freedom Express.
Wow.
Whew. Sorry, that was good.
That one.
Listen, hibiscus tea is one of the best things you can ever put for your body.
I completely disagree. No, benefits.
Yeah, man. Tell me
amazing.
why.
Taste is tragic.
The taste?
Yes. You feel like you like the taste?
I love it's hibiscus. It's like it's sweet.
It's sweet. I'm in pain. He thought about me today and he said, let me get him some hibiscus tea.
Yeah.
My response is, when it comes to thinking about me and hibiscus, forget about it. Let's not do this again.
Whenever, let's say you're receiving a lot of love, right? And the more immense of love you receive from people, right? These are two things. There's somebody who let that, I guess, love that they're showing them kind of get to their head. In the sense of people love me, I'm this. And so they put themselves on this specific pedestal. Right. And so then when eventually those voices start to quiet down, because what people used to love about you, it's changing because of you're moving yourself up into this other seat that they're just we don't recognize you anymore. So versus you now giving that love, you don't give love. You don't just give your love to anybody.
Why not?
Well, I'm saying in terms of just we specifically sometimes choose who we give our love to and who we give it to.
Yeah, somebody actually told me that love is actually very discriminatory. We discriminate when we give love because
I can see that
because they're your family members versus strangers versus the one that you're gonna end up spending the rest of your life with. All these people are given different forms of love, and if you think about it too, you'll cut off the point in which you give love for certain individuals.
Yeah.
So inherently, it's discriminatory. But my thing that you're talking about right now that's very interesting is the idea of giving love to a point where I guess you're only the one receiving it.
Right.
And then you're not giving it out.
It's in the sense of you receiving love so much from people, words of affirmation, all this other stuff, to a point where the way that you give it is different. The way that you give that love becomes, you don't even choose to give it because you're just okay, I'm this person. So every single time you're just expecting to receive, to receive, to receive, and so for you to give it becomes you abuse it in terms of just you don't give it at the right time at the specific person that needs it. And so, we put ourselves on this specific pedestal and then we're just okay, what's, people, those words that they normally give to us, it just goes away. So I think one of the other ways that we abuse love is, it's not necessarily who we choose to give it to, but is, I guess, the type of format that we might probably use too, because we have an immense of it, right?
You think so?
I think so, because it's a source that I don't think we have a limited amount of love. Do you think we have a limited amount of love?
I think it depends on the way that. Do you see love as one structural thing, or do you see it as one name but many different forms?
I think love is love. It's one thing, and so I think the way that the feelings behind the relationship behind the person, your friend, your mom, your sister, your partner, or whatever. I think those relationships are different. So because the relationships are different, you see the way you apply this love, right? The way I see love is like water. Again, we're going back to water, right? is just water. But depending on the container that it's in, depending on the structure, the form that it's in, it's going to take that form. So love takes the form that you are giving this other human being. The level of I guess like the like how you feel about your friend, your best friend, right? Love takes the form of that feeling. I mean, it takes love the form of that relationship, and he feels it according to the type of relationship it is. It also takes another form of the relationship of you and your parents, of you. So that's how I view it.
Love takes, or do you manipulate it?
You pour it.
So like, you do it.
Yeah, you do it. Like
Interesting.
you give. Okay. You give and you receive love.
Because sometimes we feel like we're powerless in the sense of the way love happens to develop, you know, in the way that it's formed within a relationship. Sometimes it's like, you know, you just talk to somebody and all of a sudden, like, you develop feelings.
Yes.
Right? But would you say you did it? Or would you say love just happened? Because, you know, some people say I fell in love as if it's like a passive experience. Like I didn't walk into it. I didn't decide. I woke up one day and I just noticed, wow, I'm in love.
I think there's steps that get you there. We might not be aware of it.
Sure.
So, but in terms of just like, I truly think that we give it because it doesn't make a decision. It just shows you an image, or it just gives you an awareness of things that you necessarily want to, because like before the feeling gets to love,
yeah,
where's the original source of it, right? For you to get to like, wow, I love this person, you had to see that person first.
Yeah,
right. You had to, you know, you had there's many factors that had to play for your mind or you to be like, wow, you know. So I think the time where we're just like, wow, is the end of recognition of love that we get of like, what, this person. Yes. Right. And so, but I feel like it always because you can feel this love, but for it to actually play a factor, you need to give it. Like for me to show that I can love, my friend, I can love you, right? And then if, let's say, I want to, but how would you ever know? How would my partner ever know that I love them, right? How would my parents ever know that I love them? It's the actions that you do, right? It's the thing that you do to show them, how this appear, you're taking it, you're putting it into real life. So at the end of the day, we give it. You might have fallen into it, and then you just sit in it. Because if you just sit in it, it's not doing the work. Because it's not just for you; it's for you and these other person or thing or being. And so now you need to take it, or they bring theirs, and then you exchange it. You give and you receive.
What do you think the barriers are?
Barriers
to giving it?
I think that all depends on what you're looking for. Your barriers are the I guess like like your intentions behind this person. Those are the barriers. Like, what is your intentional purpose for you and this other being and you and this other person? Those are the barriers of it, right? Again, which will say like it's a container. Like we always pour in a container. The level of your relationship with this person, that is the container, right? There's some people who maybe their cups are bigger. The other one, maybe their cups are small. But you can always pour it to the extent of this cup. So you can always give this love to the extent of how much you feel about this person.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I feel like, to me, those are barriers.
I think that is interesting. I think the barrier for me in my mind that comes up when I think about that question is the way that has been given to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that becomes the primary barrier for the way that you give it out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you found out that love at an early age meant chaos,
mm-hmm.
meant heated conflict,
mm-hmm.
right? And so a barrier for you to give out love, let's say you find somebody else and you grow up and now you're dating and you find a partner and the partner is calm. And so when you get into arguments and conflict, they take an approach of, I want to hear you, talk to me. I don't want to yell at you. I don't want to argue. I want to be able to understand you.
Yeah.
You won't give out love because your barrier or your checkpoint to giving out love is chaos and confrontation and heated moments. And I think that's very interesting because then you're looking for that container to pour into.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though you're in a peaceful, healthy relationship, if you don't find that container of chaos and high level confrontation, or even notice that that is your existing system, what you'll do is you'll never pour. And I think it's really sad because you'll walk around saying somebody is boring. You'll walk around saying that this person is not my type when they're just not a reflection of what you're used to growing up with. And I think it's very interesting because we think that we are just what we are. And me and you were talking about how we are just the current system that we chose.
Yes.
And if we don't analyze our system, especially around love, because I believe nobody would swear that they don't want it. But some of us have submitted to the fact that we'll never receive it.
Exactly.
Based on the fact that we don't want to dive into our own systems or don't know that we can.
Yeah.
And so we've been given multiple times terrible situations in relationships.
Yeah.
Because we don't dive into our own systems. And so we protect what destroys us.
Yes. But also there's sometimes where how we use it becomes how we use it can either become a shield, right? Or it can become a wall in the sense of like, or it can become there's sometimes where what I'm getting at is like, it can sometimes become the thing that's we're using to push us back. So there's sometimes love can be the thing that you use, the tool that you use for you to not fall in love, for you not to actually find love or
that is. Tell me more about that.
In the sense of like, because like I've been realizing of a lot of the times, and this is not to discredit any person who depressed or whatever, like whether we're depressed, whether we are searching for our purpose, right, whether we are looking for love, there's majority of those three things, or if not, there's sometimes where we use I might be like, oh well, I'm looking for love, and maybe you haven't had luck to find a partner, and so because of the search for this thing, right, is the only thing actually that's in front of you, right? It's always this distant, like, post that you will never reach, because the more you express, the more you complain about it, but while using it, it's the more you're pushing it back, right? Versus if you also cultivating it and build around it and pray about it, where it actually comes and it becomes this new thing. So there's sometimes we use the actual thing that we're trying to get becomes the actual thing. It becomes a thing that we keep pushing it back. Specifically, same thing with purpose. I mean, everybody in the world, one of the biggest things that they struggle with is their purpose. What's my purpose? That's literally the question of the world. And so even that, like sometimes because of us searching for our purpose, we tend to push away our purpose. So it's always in distant reach, but because it's almost like the more we walk towards it, right, the more we're actually pushing, right? It's like it's on the same. What's the thing that kind of the stairs that goes by themselves?
Oh,
Escalators.
escalator.
It's kind of like an escalator.
Mhm.
It's like you and the post of purpose of love on the same escalator, and so you're walking,
Mhm.
but there's this like moving rug thing that's continue to push both of you guys away.
Mhm.
So if you walk with the same pace, you were never gonna catch it because it's walking the same pace as you, same direction.
But you know what's really interesting about that?
Mm.
The fact that sometimes you fall in love with that pursuit because it looks like you're doing something,
Yes.
but you're afraid of actually achieving it. So you're like, oh no, like let's say, like I'm just looking for the perfect person.
Yeah.
But you're afraid the perfect person won't want you.
Mm.
And so you don't want to say that I want to be lonely for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
And so you just say, I'm just on a search for the perfect person.
Mm.
But whenever you meet somebody, you deny them.
Yeah.
Because deep down, it's not about them. It's about you not wanting to give them love because you believe that you're inadequate in some way.
Mhm. It's the whole thing of like, you mentioned it, like why you were taught, like how you grew up.
Yeah.
Which environment did you grow up in, right? How was love shown to you? How was shown taught to you, right? How did you see it, right? Like, so all these things plays a factor into, into how you give it, how you receive it, how you accept it, right? So it's not always the same for every single person, but I think there's some times where if we're not careful into sharpening the knife, right, our own knives, sometimes where if we don't know how to properly hold it and use it, we can end up cutting ourselves, right? Jeez. And so it gets to the point where it's like you know how they have like these guinea pigs and they put them in this little wheel thing, and you pull like a string and you pull like a bread or whatever, and it's always chasing this little bread, but it's always moving, so it's never actually, so that bread becomes like the thing that it's always going to chase. So physically you're running, physically you're training, physically you're doing everything possible, but the thing you're searching for is not physically, it's mentally, it's spiritually. So you can't catch a spiritual mentally thing physically. So there's like almost these two parallel worlds of like you're chasing something that's beyond your universe or beyond that realm that you're in at that time. So stop running physically and get into that space mentally, spiritually, because it's there, right? You see it, right? You see it, but and it's a rope because it's been given to you. But because we're used to these systems of like we're moving, everything is tangible, everything is like I need to go, I need to get. Sometimes you can't get something that's I guess spiritual or something that's outside of something that's in your mind. You need to actually go in your mind and get it. Right. So what's like with love? It's like it's the same thing. It's like you there is this camp I used to go to called the Global Youth Peace Summit. One of their motto was give what you want the most out of life.
Interesting. So
if you want love, you give love. Right? If you want happiness, give happiness. So you be that. So you play the factor, you practice giving this to somebody else. Don't wait until you get it for you to give it. Because you already have the enough that you have. Give it. Because what that does, that potentially reciprocates back to you. So then this person that you've given it, out of nowhere, either they give it back to you or somebody else sees you doing, so like you give what you want the most out of life.
So what do you say about those type of people that don't want to give it because they're afraid if I lock down this situation, I close off any other possibilities? And so they're like, I have all this love to give. I feel it, but I don't want to give it yet. Like I want to, how we're in a generation of all these dating apps and stuff.
Yeah.
And so possibilities and freedom of possibilities, right?
In that concept, then you're just playing the game. You're just playing in your mind the whole thing of like, it's almost like investing. Or like you don't really, because you don't know, you're just hoping like there could be something better, like, I can buy and this stock around this time, or I can wait. I see it, it might drop or it might go up. So knowing when to buy, knowing when to, to act on. But with that person, I think it comes just to the matter of how deeply do you feel about this individual, right? For you to, because if you're questioning whether you should, you probably shouldn't.
You don't think that the fact that you're questioning allows you to respect the situation more? Because I've heard many stories about people getting married. And even up to their wedding day, they were questioning. On the wedding day, they're questioning. Why you making...
Jesus.
Why do you have the eyebrows?
The devil. Oh, go ahead.
But I think about that. But then also I think about the pattern in which love has been exposed to you. And if this person is so different than what you're used to, wouldn't it always give you an environment where you question it? Because it's butting against the past. Like, let's say you're used to an environment where if you piss somebody off, or your parents, your dad pissed your mom off, silent treatment. She doesn't want to talk. And then you meet somebody and you piss them off, and then all of a sudden, they're like, "Hey, did you eat today?" And you're like, "Are you trying to kill me?" Like, what's going on? Like, what do you mean, did I eat today? Like, are you mad? Are you not mad? Like, what's going on? But the thing about it is the difference.
Yeah.
You're not used to, it's like, when you walk into you go to visit another state, new country, you go to Paris for the first time, you're like, wow, this building, why do they build it like that? You have buildings back home. Yeah. It doesn't look like that.
Yes.
Or this street is interesting. Everything now is a question in your mind because you're like, I want to know, this territory is new. I want to analyze it.
Yeah.
My thing is, what do you say to the people that are forever analyzing?
If you for those people who forever analyzing is, you sometimes have to understand that even your structure needs to change, or like I guess be having that mindful of like, maybe, because I mean part of that questioning is them like either they're not sure, or it's fear, or there's like multiple factors so it's not love that's questioning.
Break it down.
I don't think it's love that's questioning at top. You're not questioning. If you, I think it's when fear comes into play and fear starts to question this love of this person. Like you said, like if you grow up around a certain environment, right? The reason why you're questioning because you now are trying to merge these two environments. So now you meet this individual who's grew up in a different environment, right? And so you just like that doesn't look familiar. That's different. And so you're just like, ooh, are we sure? Do we want to do this? Or, like you said, some people even go until their day of marriage. So just like, but even that, think about that. Like somebody's questioning, but they're still going through the motion until the day of the wedding. And so it's like, who's going? Is
that a good thing?
It can and it cannot. It can't. Yes and no. Here's the reason I say that, because there's some times where culturally, or there's some times where I'm gonna use this word, due to the algorithm that they've used, right? That's around their system, that's around their country, that's around their community, right? This is what they do. You're around a certain amount of age, so you need to get married. You're around, so it's like it's to them keep going can be multiple factor, but it always comes to the algorithm that was typed within their family, So the thing that's moving them could one be just like, oh, eventually I'm gonna end up to marrying, so I'm gonna keep questioning even though I get here. Hopefully by then I'll have an answer. That could be one factor. I don't know. The other factor could be like, okay, there's something about this person that I don't want to give up, although I'm still questioning. Like the the percentage of questioning and actually how you feel about this person, right? The feeling is more. And so you just, okay, this other little thing, I can either pray about it, or, maybe God's doing something, or the universe is probably doing something.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like multiple factors I can play, but that's why I say it's a good and bad. So it can also be bad in the sense of there's like signs that God is showing you. No, hey, no, like, no, get out, not that, no, you know what I mean? And so you're just like, no, but like, this is my best friend. This is the person, or this is, this is somebody I grew up with. I grew up with this, they're my best friend. Guy just like, yeah, but this is not your person. That's not their habits and what they do and who, just like, that's not, like, you can't pray for, you can't, I'm in terms of God, it's like, we can't ask God to, I need this person. And then whenever he's showing us this like red signs, right? And we avoid it sometimes due to like the drug that sometimes this love does to a person because of this individual. Like, you want them so bad. So that's why I say it can be bad, because maybe you're missing signs that are in front of you, and so that's why maybe some people, whenever they get married and it doesn't work out sometimes, due to maybe there's some signs that they missed, or they've never actually initially, showed themselves 100%. And so now their actual true characters are coming out. So, but then again, that's a tricky thing, because like, you can't just know somebody's characteristics just like that. It's like,
exactly.
You know what I mean? And so, and that's the tricky part. But I think it's I don't want to say it's a gamble, because it's not. So sometimes people gamble with love.
Yeah.
That's never the right thing. So I think it's knowing what you're getting into 100%.
Oh, is it on your part or their part?
On your part, because you don't know their part.
Okay, so is it not still a gamble then?
It's not a gamble, because the difference between the gamble and the choice and an actual is like, you know the consequences and you're okay with it.
So you've made a decision.
You made a decision.
So do you think that those people are still questioning because they haven't made a decision?
When you make a decision, you understand everything about that decision. You are okay with you're okay with the consequences. Any single time when you're okay with the consequences of your decision, before you even made the decision, that's the true meaning of choice, of acting on choice.
Interesting.
But if you act on something, but you're still not sure in your mind, you're always going to regret what you did. That's how regret comes in.
Okay.
You're just like, man, there was always part of me that like always told me no. Like, man, I shouldn't have done this. We all have those moments of just like I knew it. Like, I knew it. Like, there was something in my mind that was telling me not to, And so
should you listen to that? Or should you investigate it?
You should, because like,
Which one?
You should listen. You always listen to, if there's two sides to you, that one is saying like, the other one saying like, yeah. Like, instead of listening to one and not the other, figure out where to have a meeting within everything. Step back. Step back. Not like, I'm not saying don't stop. Don't listen to the stopping one and don't listen to keep going. But stop and actually see that, okay, why is there a conflict here? So that means there's something that's disturbing this with you in your mind. So there's something you need to address before you make this decision. So which is why whenever we always act on one side, when the other one is not, is not in it, that's whenever regret comes in.
Interesting.
So, but whenever you fully make a choice, knowing, it's almost like a contract, right? So it's a contract. It's like, before you make you sign a contract with this individual, with this whatever project you guys are about to do, you read, right, the policies, you've read these lines, you read this, all these bylaws, right, all these rules, and you just say, okay, you sign saying, I confirm to everything that we're going to do in this contract. The repercussion is written in there. You know that if you don't abide by this this is a result. So by you signing off, you're okay. If this, I'm okay with this consequences, because I know that there's a greater good.
And this is all you do with yourself, not with the person.
Not with the person. Because like, you have to go in the meeting with yourself before you even get to the other person.
But do you know, like, society gives you the picture that the person has to be perfect. Therefore, the contract doesn't need to exist.
There's no perfect person.
Interesting.
There's no perfect person. You will never meet Jesus was the only perfect person.
So what do you do when you find a person that's so familiar that they feel perfect? Is that a good thing?
It's a good thing, but then again, it's a dangerous thing depending on, like, if you view that person as perfect, you've already failed.
Interesting.
Because then in your mind, they can grow. They can be. You've already set this bar that they're this is it. No, that's not even fair for this person. Like, they're still growing. We all grow as human beings, and so it's not fair to cut the other person short in that sense, right? Because, like, they're human, and so you can, which is why I like the whole concept of, like, I'm choosing to invest in this person. I think me and this individual, we're compatible, and I feel like we're going to be, we're going to work. So because if that's the case, I want to invest in this person, right? I'm going to love this person. So that love comes as the contract of saying, okay, I'm going to do my best to abide by everything, respectively, respect her, to love her, to, everything. You then choose to this person, right? But I mean, obviously, hopefully they feel the same about you.
How tragic.
But, so it's just like, but it initially needs to be a thing that you both be like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Okay. Like, we're doing this. We're doing this. And when things get tough, with those two people, when those things get tough, because they know they signed the contract and now they're seeing the repercussion or maybe a certain decision they made, they're just like, okay, hey, let's talk about this.
But, I think that some people, how you're saying you have to be okay with your contract. They're trying to make the other person make them okay with their contract.
But that's not fair. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
You read the contract. You read the bylaws. Like, if the other person write it and they give it to you and they don't fit your personality, like, you're signing a contract to the wrong company.
So it's all internal.
It's the core of everything. Somebody that says that there is a spiritual war going on that we're not aware of. So it's the same thing in our mind. There's this other realm, in our mind that's going on that we're not aware of, but we have access to. So I feel like that's where they fight, they choose, they make the decision, then they give it to you, and then you be like, because if you're not aware, if you're not in that meeting up here, they're going to always give you what to do. You're always going to be a puppet of your mind.
And that's why you never feel comfortable.
Because you're just a tool that your mind uses to execute things.
What do you think your mind, okay, so if you're not directly in that meeting, what is in that meeting that's giving you the puppet decisions and stuff?
It's everything that your environment ever taught you.
Hey.
So it's it's everything that your environment, your schools, your parents, that's what's in there. So now there's just like artificial thing in your mind that just like creating things based off of, remember last time we were talking about algorithms,
right?
So it's like last time I believe we came to the concept of, like, life gives you what you want.
Yeah.
Just like on your phone, like, it gives you what you want. So if your environment, your society, if all you know is within that society, most likely what you're going to think in your mind is what you've seen in this environment.
Right.
So because how can you think of something that you've never seen? Right? How can you think of something that you've never actually experience or even see somebody do it? Right? So it's not until you see an example of something, or you read it somewhere, or you hear it spiritually, where you're just like, oh, because like when you hear it, when you see it, when you meet somebody who've done it, there's something that unlocks, like, okay, now there's a pathway to this thing now. Okay, because he got there. Yes, you're not. The path to that thing is different because that's how this person got to that thing. Now you trying to get to that thing, right? So if you take this person's path, you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
You're gonna fail miserably.
But you know what's really interesting about that? That's what you're doing in your brain when you're not in that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking everybody's path but your own.
Exactly.
I never thought about it like that. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. No, I'm so serious.
The way you said it.
Because it's like you're choosing actively to take other people's paths.
Mm-hmm.
You may not see these people, but it's an amalgamation of your whole environment.
Yeah.
If the person feels familiar,
mm-hmm.
but you're still questioning, it's because you have to ask yourself, what was my environment?
Yes.
Because if I didn't really choose this person, but this person felt familiar, so I allowed myself to just lean into it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I'm not careful, this person will become a manifestation of everything I've been through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you can date many people with different names, but the same behavior.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because you've never been in that meeting in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And so your default setting for a relationship has always been whatever your environment has been.
Mm-hmm.
Until you wake up. So this is what I wanted to ask you. Oh my days. Comfortability level, right? So when you meet somebody that you're not too comfortable with,
okay,
you know how people say, I have a type.
Yeah.
And the person turns out not to be their type.
Uh-huh.
Is that a cause for concern? Or is that a cause to they like entertain it?
Well, I think it's a cause to entertain it because you like the whole even if you think about the whole concept of a type, my type. So you've structured yourself to only like a specific type, right? That's why we say type.
Yeah,
as much because like that means they fit in this box that I want this person to be in,
right? And
if they don't, yeah, no, that they're not my type. But then again, you tend to forget that they have a type. You don't, maybe you don't fit that, and so there's sometimes where and sometimes your type is due to the like where you learned that system. Who was your male figure when growing up? Who did which male figure in your life, which woman figure in your life, did you see and be like, oh wow, like which relationship did you idolize?
Interesting.
That formatted this type of yours.
Interesting.
Right. And so, because if it's from movies and TV shows, oh, you're screwed. Right. If it's from your parents, what's their relationship like? How do they treat each other? Right? If it's from your siblings, how do they treat each other? Right? And so that type, this box, right? This, format that we create, this, that we create for this other individual to come, and we're trying to fit this person in this, in this type.
What is this?
But I don't even know how to describe it. But like this, it's like, which it's a very selfish thing. That now that I'm thinking about it, it's like a oh, I want to be with you, but in a way that works for me, like in a way that, hey, there's walls here that we can cross.
That's selfish?
No, in terms of those walls that I'm talking about, is just like those walls that cultivated from your environment.
Okay,
by that type.
Yeah.
Walls are amazing. I love walls. We're surrounded by walls right now. You know what I mean? Without it, you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why we have walls in the house. So walls are good, but how that wall is being used for.
I listened to this pastor a long time ago. He's pastor / lecturer. And he brought up a statement where the Bible says, guard your heart, right? People jump to walls.
Okay.
But in his mind, he said, I thought about guarding your heart, and I meditated on that for a while, because what was offered to me in interpretation of that scripture was put a wall around your heart. That way you're protected until the right person comes. And then he said, so when this person comes, how do they get in? Is there any entrance for this person?
Yeah.
No, because it's just walls.
Yeah.
You need to guard your heart with a gate.
Yes.
A gate allows people to come in and come out. But the best thing about a gate is that there's a checkpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And at that checkpoint, they have to analyze where you're from,
Mm-hmm.
what your place of business is,
Mhm.
what do you want to do here?
Yeah.
What is your intentions?
Yeah.
And then how long do you want to stay?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. How long you staying?
Because
Mhm.
if at any point a red flag is shown up, they don't cancel the person because society will tell you get rid of them. They bring the person to the back for investigation. Now they bring out the lamp, you know, and then they put the lamp on you and say, "Please, I want family.
Yeah,
I want job.
Yeah,
I want to know where have you lived. Who do you know? Because I have to make sure you are who you say you are. But this is all before they enter,
for sure.
and so it's interesting because me wanting somebody to come in, conform to my walls and my idea of my cardboard cutout of what it means to be in a relationship with me, and you're just asking that person, like you said, to make me feel good.
Yeah.
The definition of a relationship to me is this person must make me feel good, must make me feel safe only. And that deprives that person of autonomy and identity. Because if their identity is built on you, you've become an idol for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if that's the case, then it's not a relationship.
No.
It's a servant. Like they're not your slave. And ask yourself if that's what you want to produce in your life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But we're so afraid to suffer.
You know, who nobody likes suffering. The whole concept of pain and like the whole
go ahead.
We're afraid of it.
Yes.
But it's a natural thing to happen. We can never escape pain.
No, 1000%. But I've been sitting with this idea of suffering because the way that it's been given to you or to us, it's such a negative thing.
Okay.
It must be avoided. So you're creating underdeveloped people because it's only through suffering that you develop understanding of yourself. When you're in the fire, you get molded and now you're art. But if you don't go through the fire, you'll never be what you can be. You'll be a massive potential and you'll die a massive potential. And so it's like finding out that suffering is not detrimental, it's optimization. If you're in that meeting in your head. Because if you're not, then you're just suffering for no reason.
Yeah.
Because your environment is kicking you all it knows. And if it's giving you all it knows and you're reflecting all it knows, you're just recreating your own disaster. And at one point, and this is so sad, people come to a point where they say, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Or this is all I can choose. And so now the destruction that you once avoided once caused you sadness, once was a place of deep hurt for you, you now protect because you gave it identity and you linked it to yourself.
Where does the person, right? How did the person differentiate between, like, while they're in that suffering, for them to know, like, okay, like, differentiate between the suffering actually impacting them in the negative way, or them using this suffering for that to be the light pillar that moves them forward? What do they need to do to shift for them to repurpose their suffering? Or is that even possible?
What do they need to do to shift?
To repurpose their suffering. Because there's some people who remain, right? Who live in the suffering. And they're just sitting there and they're feeling all the weight of it, right? They all they know is this thing, right? And so suffering becomes this extra weight that's pushing them down, right? But the bar, right, is a certain outcome of a situation that's causing them to suffer, right? So I say it as like a bar, and like, you know, suffering is the two I guess dumbbells, the two plates,
right?
So you holding the bar, right, and maybe at one point you could lift it, and your hands were up, right, for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
And then due to certain circumstances, due to certain due to certain results of the actions that you've done, plagues start to be added to it. So you start to get stronger. Maybe it's that you've been praying for strength, right? Maybe everything has been going good in your life, and God, I'm praying for more, for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. I'm praying for, strength. I'm praying for this. And so maybe that's even God putting those plates on there, right? But before you even get to that, like, the difference between those plates being plates that makes you strong or plates that actually kills you. What's it like? What?
I think there's a sort of intentionality to all things. Without that, you're living a passive life where things are happening to you, not for you. If that's the case, then everything you go through, whether you're experiencing love or suffering, is something that's happening to you. You have no control over it. Therefore, you have no purpose or vision. You're stuck. I think it goes back to the fact that you have to wake up to the idea that you're the one that chooses. Like, you're in the meeting in your head, but you're the one that signs off. I think sometimes we see ourselves like the kid in the back of the class, where everybody is answering the questions, and either you're just there trying to go home, or you're just waiting for lunch. And so you're going through life waiting for lunch. Waiting for lunch. You have no agency, you have no advocacy, you have no authority. You're just waiting for lunch. Life happens to you, therefore you need life to activate something in order for you to do something. And so you're suffering, but your suffering means nothing because your suffering is not for you, it's for life. So life is benefiting from your suffering, not you. You're just stuck.
So what's the purpose of suffering? What is there a purpose to suffering?
When you wake up to the fact that I'm a kid and I'm in that class for a reason, and I can raise my hand to ask questions, I can look up other ways to handle this. My purpose for suffering is optimization. I'm trying to develop my mind and develop my character and develop my ability to another level. And so I'm choosing to sit in this seat. Endurance athletes, I was listening to a YouTube video and they're talking about people that run 52 miles.
Jeez. Yeah.
I was suffering today drinking that hibiscus tea. But like, people that run 52 miles, they were saying it comes to a point when
it's no longer fun.
It's not fun. And so every step past that, it's an intentional decision to tell yourself, I'm going to complete this. Where you've gone so far that you can't go back. You must go forward. But for you to go forward, you must decide to go forward.
So do you feel with suffering, right? Or where do people get to, right, in their run, in their journey, to a point where they're just like, they can't go back because that they just came far. For me to turn around and go back, that's far, right? And then versus like where I'm going, right? It's just like, okay, wow, that's far too. So some people that choose it to camp
in that,
like
in between,
in this middle place. They're just like, oh, I can't. I need to stop. But some people who are just like, no, we gotta keep going because they know eventually they know that there's what the promise is right there. They know, they 1000% know that they just need to hang in there. And it's that thing is there. It's at the end of it. They just need to hang on and keep going. And then there's those people who just let, I guess, I don't know, it's fear or that stops them down and be like, is that even worth it now? I'm exhausted. They're just like, I can't. And so I think sometimes suffering can be an energy source that keeps you moving.
You think so?
Sometimes, yes, I really do. Because some people, it all depends on how you perceive it, on what your what suffering, because there's some people who within their suffering, they're miserable, they're depressed, they're actually down, right? There's some other people who they don't sit in the suffering for a long time because they know, okay, I just need to outlast this. I just need to like outlast this, because they for sure know that this suffering has an expiration date. It's not going to be forever. So there's like the only way to beat this thing is just like to be in here, which is what Miles Monroe said. He said the only way to outlast a season, right, is to, the only way to beat a season is to outlast it, because it eventually is going to come to an end.
But you realize how you're using progressive terminology. Like, what you're saying is, you're not talking about stability, you're talking about overcoming. So everything you're using now is not for here, but for there, right? You can only do that if you're bought into the vision, I think a lot of times those people that stop halfway, 2/3 of the way, is because something else was the driving factor, not for them to get there. It wasn't just them.
But you can only play, right? Depending on your level of playing depends on how you trained. Like how did you practice? Plays a factor on how you play, how efficient, how better you play, how, So if somebody, and there's nothing wrong, and there's no shame of you being in that moment and they're suffering, because that's all you know. That's how far your level of training got you to. That's how much you've trained. You don't know nothing else, right? But there's some other people they're moving, they're pushing in training, in practice, right? So that whenever the game comes, they know what to do. And so they've already endured this pain during practice.
You think they did it for them, or they did it for the game?
They did it for them.
And that's
the main difference.
The resolve you have cannot be built in somebody else, because you'll always stop. Because eventually you'll be like, they'll be okay. When you hit mile 39 or 52, you're like, they'll be all right. Like, I got this far, they'll be good. But if you're the one pushing yourself, all you see is mile 52. And so you could be in pain, you could be throwing up, you'll be arguing it with yourself, because yourself will tell you, we chose to do this, so we're gonna get there. And you'll be telling yourself, please, it's like, just let me quit. Like, I think I did enough. And that's that internal conversation when you're bought into the vision. But if, let's say, I have to do this because I want my girlfriend to see me as somebody that's strong, and so I gotta run this mile because she has to see me, or I want my friends to see me as somebody that is powerful, or somebody that's authoritative, so I have to get this type of job. You'll never feel at home because you never bought into the vision. This is for somebody else to see. And God forbid you do all that and they just give you a pat on the back. Hey, good job, man.
Good job.
You'll blow something up. Because you're like, that's not what I did this for. You guys should be like giving me affirmation severely right now. But that's because you're still living externally. You're not living internally.
So how does someone live internally? What steps, in your opinion?
I think first, you must enter that meeting like you belong there. And it's not a meeting. And I love the idea of the contract being with you. Everything you do, you must realize that, did I decide to do this? Am I the driving factor behind this decision? If I'm not, then I can't do it. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to stop.
You get the repercussion.
Because when the repercussion comes, first of all, I'm going to be panicking. I'm not going to be clear-headed because I didn't decide it. And so whoever I felt like was the driving factor, I'll be looking for them to tell me what to do.
Exactly.
And that's, again, living a passive life where You're the kid in the back of the class just waiting for lunch.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, but think about it. The teacher is in front of the class teaching for everybody in that class. You are her students. That's a relationship.
Yeah.
And you're just waiting for lunch. That means you're getting nothing from this environment.
I think you need to get to a point where you realize that every single morning when you wake up, right? I forgot a place where he said that. It's like a quote. I don't know where I seen it. It says that the reason why, there's like, I guess, the future, past, and present. And they said the reason why it's called the present is because it's a gift, right? And so, and I'm like, yeah, so, but within that present, within this gift, within this day, right? Within this 24 hours, right? That's in our head. Of we are constantly, always are in meetings, whether we're choosing to go somewhere, whether we're choosing to do something, whether we're choosing to meet with somebody, whether we're choosing to act on anything, there's a meeting that happens, right, before the action happens. And so if you don't understand that you're the CEO of your own life, somebody else is always going to make the choices for you.
Exactly.
But there's something about that you're going to reap the repercussion because you are, you're in charge, but you don't know.
You don't realize within that present is the future.
Exactly.
And the past. And so you have to keep present.
Exactly.
Because if you don't keep present, you will bring the past into the present, make the present the future. I mean, make the past the future. And so everybody has a future for you. Do you have a future for yourself?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because if you keep going to the same place, they keep giving you the same thing.
Yeah.
Life is a life of creation, but you make it recreation.
That's it. Like the whole thing of T.D. Jakes said that God never made a table. God never made a chair. And so he just like, if you see a tree, imagine a table. Imagine this interview he was doing, with Stephen Furtick. And so I was just like, that is true. It's like there's sometimes where we become jealous of somebody else's success, right? Without knowing the force driven factor behind this, the force behind this person, the amounts of work that they've prepared, that they've done, that they've did, that they've, that they built this structure, this system, this company within themselves first. They're a firm foundation, or they're standing on a firm foundation. They've accepted that. So we don't see that. You can't, because that's for you. That's for the other person. But you see the action. Maybe you see this person and they're just a regular person. But they, internally they know, right? They're always initiating. They're always doing this. They're always doing it. So it's like, sometimes the more we question something, right? If we question one thing, I guess over and over, it comes to a point where the more we question it, it's like the more we adding more layers between you and that thing, right? It's like this, the distance between you and this thing. There's sometimes where it's can be very short, but because of your decision making, because of you not knowing yourself internally or not doing the proper assessment, this thing just starts to drift back. And so this distance for it becomes very far. And so you get to a point where it becomes difficult for you to see your your vision, your goal, your this, because you were just like, man, like I had it. I think I knew what I wanted at one point. I don't anymore. Right. And so it's just like, how comfortable are we, right, that we avoid discomfort?
There's a philosopher, psychiatrist I was listening to. The psychiatrist said something so interesting, fascinating to me. He said that a lot of us enter environments where we're already defeated because we never entered the environment.
Wow. That's good.
And so you may enter a new relationship, you may enter a new job, you may enter a new place, and it looks new.
But you've already lost.
You've already lost because you never showed up.
Ooh, dang.
So it's just a matter of it playing out.
Wow.
And then you having that same script of nobody loves me. But you never loved you enough to show up. Let me tell you what's really hilarious. I had a friend back home. This was years back. He came into his phase where he wanted to be more mentally clear. So his Instagram profile was giving him a bunch of garbage. He didn't want to see it anymore. So he said, all right, I'm deleting this account. I'm going to make a new account. 6 months down the line, it looked just like the other account. I was laughing so hard. Because what you
what is going on, man?
But what he had to come to the point of realizing is it's not Instagram.
Oof.
It's the person creating the algorithm. And so you may leave this and go to this. But as long as you're in the same shoes, in the same body, bringing it over, eventually this will look like that because you haven't decided what this will look like.
Yeah.
You're just allowing, oh, this seems nice. This person's going to be totally different. Once you say this person's going to be totally different, you're putting on this person you're putting on that person to sustain that difference.
Bro, that's good.
You know?
That's good, yeah.
And so where do you show up?
They're not creating a new Instagram account. Right? Like, you know, like your friend who's said, oh, I'm going to delete this one and create another one.
Right.
But the system, those things, they're not in Instagram. They're actually in you. You know? Like, because they search for them.
Yeah.
The hard drive is in your mind for searching these things. But Instagram has it. It has access to it. Because it's a internet, it's a web browser of collective things. You can search for good things, you can find it. You can search, you know? So it's like, it's within you. So you can literally go to you can even delete Instagram completely and go to TikTok and you still find it.
Because it's a physical manifestation of your internal dialogue. What you want to see, you now see.
Yes.
And so the problem is you have to now fast from what you wanted to see because you realize that it's not beneficial for you. But when people decide to fast, the thing about it is if you don't change, you come right back to what you had to fast it from. And so you'll have to continually avoid that which you don't want to change. And that's a problem because you living a life of avoidance is you wasting your life because you're not in control of it.
You're really not. And so, which is why it's like, how do you then start to actually, right, breaking down this, like if you truly want to delete it, how do you delete it within yourself? Where's your factory reset mode in yourself?
I don't think you have one.
I think you do.
Okay. The reason why I say I don't think you have one is because you have something that you like. And so to unlike, you first have to make a determination. Why is this something that you want to change? You know? And then once you make that determination, you then now have to go into the process of acknowledging, like you said, the contract. I like this. To give this up, I know it will be hard. I'm willing to sign this contract because I want to shift into this way of being.
Yes.
But a lot of people, I'll put it like this: a lot of people, they think they have a factory reset, and which is why they try to they cut something cold turkey, and then they always come back because you're denying the humanity that led you to accept it in the first place. But what do you think?
Well, it's weirdly you say that because with me, there's one saying I think it's different because there was one to say like we have a factory reset mode is our hard drive. They like you can train yourself. Let me say that. You can unclog. You can delete. I'm sorry using all this terminology.
I agree.
You can delete the storage in your mind. by
sleeping.
Huh?
How?
Somebody knocking you out. No, but you can the way because like I'm singing some just like when my phone gets full and I need to do some stuff.
Okay.
It's like within us, but with humans it look different. Obviously, we can be like boop 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 and it's gone. No, like you have to go in this process of elimination now. Actually, like what you said, like seeing all this contract that you were aware of that you signed, or that you signed when you weren't aware of what you were signing. Getting out of those contracts.
You can. Okay.
You can.
But how is that considered the reset or no?
So the reset part comes in is where once you get rid of all those things, you then get to a point where like now it's almost like you're naked, like that you like you like okay. The point where you just get to just like, okay, I don't know what to do now. Because you've now literally chose to shift yourself to go in this new direction. So when you move to it's I guess it's in the whole concept of repentance, right? It's like it's not just the act of you being baptized, of you saying sorry. It's the action behind you saying sorry. It's like you actually showing God, like that this contract, verbal contract that we signed, I'm going to abide by, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to move differently. I'm going to stop hanging around these people. I'm going to stop maybe dating this type of people. I'm going to stop listening to this type of music. I'm going to stop doing these kind of things. So those actions that you do, you're doing them by you slowly erasing them because you're replacing them. So, I mean, with us, we're always replacing things with another. And that's how our memories are always going because, like there's no bandwidth, in your mind whenever there's a whole bunch of things there. There's no space for that bandwidth. So how do you create space for it? Right? Is by going into the process of elimination of the things that you don't need in your life. And when you start slowly doing that, you're resetting yourself. You're detoxing yourself. You're resetting back your there's a thing where a friend of mine, he makes medicine and he has his own patents and everything, and so he always invite people to go, right, and to go and practice this other type of medicine. And so let's say if he invites somebody in like Vietnam or there's South America, he always asks, hey, come live in this environment for about 6 months before we start doing any type of treatment. Because he goes on he says like, okay, for this type of because you tried Western medicine and it didn't work. The doctors have kept putting you on insulin. They kept giving you these pills and these other things. So now he's introducing you to a new way, an Eastern way, a herbal way, right? And a spiritual way but before we start this spiritual Eastern medicine or whatever herbal way, we're going to first clean this thing. You weren't going to clean your system. So we come live in this environment first. The air is cleaner. The food is healthier. Everything is natural. So by you replacing this, by you going on a different diet, right? You training your metabolism to start, thinking and to start doing and to start actually getting the nutrients that it actually needs. So you reset the body first. You reset the mind first with these new nutrients that you're getting from this actual natural, better environment. So and then the process, their type of treatment that they're giving you, right? Their medicine now becomes more efficient because you've prepared your kidneys, you prepared your heart, you prepared your metabolism, you prepared your brain, right? To accept this new thing, this actual medicine. Because if this new Eastern medicine comes and your body is not ready for it, it's going to do more harm.
Yeah.
So you first need to get rid of all this junk, all this fast food, all these energy drinks, all these, all these carbs, all these bad things that you've had in your body. You first need to clean all that out, which is why this like 6 months is. So you teaching your body how to eat properly, when to eat, when to sleep, so there's always time to do everything, right? So when you do that, and then now you in this medicine actually works now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some times where we're given the right medicine.
Yeah.
But we're not prepared. Like where the organ of which this medicine is going to cure, that organ is not clean. Is not at a place where
it's ready for it
to receive this thing. So this medicine doesn't work because of it. So there's like a process before we even get to the medicine part. And so I think that's that process of elimination. That's a process of resetting. Because when you do that, man, you feel healthier.
How should somebody expect to feel when they're going through that reset process emotionally?
How this what?
How should they be expected to feel?
Oh, it's probably one of the hardest things you ever do in your life. Because any single time when you going a process of elimination, you're getting rid of something that you've been comfortable with, that you've sat and live in for the longest time, right? Which is, again, it kind of goes back to what's the word that we kept using?
Algorithm? No,
not algorithm. The emotion that we go through when we're feeling bad, sad. You know, it's like whenever the pain, you know, like it's gonna hurt. Suffering. So like you're going to suffer. But the suffering is for your own good, right? It's like you're going to suffer because you literally going into this thing, you detaching these things that have literally planted and lived and grew branch, right? So you're removing the whole tree and the seed. It's going to hurt because you're going to have a lot of open holes, bunch of open holes from all these trees that grew that weren't supposed to be there. So it's going to hurt, but the beauty part of it is that this hurt, right? This pain, once you start planting those right seeds, over time, they're going to produce actual trees that are meant to be there, that are going to sustain, that are going to keep you strong and firm. And so, you know, so it's like, you have to kind of go into this process of feeling like this, because later on, there's a better way.
Amen.
Yeah, man.
Just being present in your mind. I will have to go and sit with the idea of the contract and realizing that a decision is based on you knowing what could and could not happen, and then accepting it, not for them, but for you.
For you.
And so resetting yourself, you must now sit with yourself and say, for me, not for anybody else that can possibly be benefiting or I believe would want this for me. For me, here's the good, here's the way that I will suffer. I'm willing to do it. And so I signed the contract with myself to do this for myself in order so I can get myself to the next level.
What message would you give somebody who's kind of who's suffering right now, who's in that moment of like you said, maybe they've been walking this way for the longest time, and they're at a point of stuck and they can't go back because it's far to go back, but it's also farther where they're going. What would you tell that person who's kind of suffering, who's in that space, who's in that, you know, whether that's suffering due to love, due to anything, what would you tell them?
I would say bring yourself along so that you don't have to go back and get yourself when you come out of it. I would say it's important to realize that you're here. And it sounds cliche, but you're here. You're here.
Yeah.
So be here. If you're going to suffer, why?
Yeah.
And if it's for anything else but something that you perceived, you signed the contract for, then you're not here for it. And so it's not benefiting you. Yeah. So why are you suffering?
Yeah. No, but yeah, that's really good. But also give yourself grace. See how far you've come.
Yeah.
Right. This is not the first time where you felt like this. You've overcame other things, right? You felt pain before. You suffered before. You've overcome that suffering. Right. You've overcame that suffering before.
Yeah.
So you've already overcame something that this is just a new environment, but you're the evidence that you've done it before.
Yeah.
So don't forget that you've done it before. You've got out of it before. I don't know what it was, but you've gotten out of it before. Mm-hmm. So I think just knowing that, but also what we said, rest. Don't stay there for the longest time, but rest. Breathe. Take time. Right? Meditate in it. Feel it. But rest and then get back up and keep going. Right? And so the place of mind where you are right now, right? It's not, don't live there. It's not a house. Don't buy land there. Right? It's like a one-night hotel type of thing. Mm-hmm. Stay, sleep there, eat breakfast, keep going. Because you were meant to stay there. There's a reason why we're all going to this journey of searching. Sometimes we just get up and we just walk. We don't know where we're going, but we just walk. So, just give yourself grace. You've overcame things, if not sometimes much even worse than this. But I think whenever you're in the thick of it, right, you tend to forget that you've overcome before, that you've done it before.
Exactly.
Right? Like this thing that I always say is like, you're the evidence that you exist. You're the evidence that you've done it before. You're the evidence that you're going to complete it before. Because the same power, right, that used you, the same ability, right, which is, I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. And so he's my strength. He's my, comforter. And so he always gives me the power and the ability, right, for myself to keep going. Right? And so I also, even say that, like, pray, which is maybe that might be what, like, that rest is. Like, what should I do within that rest? In your opinion?
I would say you don't have to force yourself to be happy, And that's the biggest thing, where we run from negative emotions because we just run. No matter what you're going through it. So that means you have authority in it. That authority leads you to have the ability to, like you said, exist, to live. And so the idea of what you're going through is the fact that you're not suffering for no reason. And if you are, then that dictates change. You have to change. Yeah. But if it comes to a point where you made a decision, like you said, have grace, have prayer, and know it to surrender. But you can't do that if you're not in the room with the meeting. Because you'll always be in a state of confusion and deregulation, because you don't know what's going on. Yeah. So you're a victim to your own suffering. Yeah. So you have to take authority over it. Know what's going on. Sign that contract. Or tear up the contract that you have been presented that has your name on it, but you weren't in the room for it. And then work on the factory reset.
Yeah. But also another thing before, it's give yourself love. Love yourself. Appreciate yourself. Right? Give what you want the most out of life. What you want for yourself, give it to somebody else. Amen. Give it to somebody else. Share it. Maybe you're the medicine to your own search. Right? Your own, the thing you've been praying for. Do it for somebody else. Maybe if it's finance, buy somebody food. Give a homeless money. Right? If it's relationship, treat somebody better. Right? Whatever it is, put it out into the universe. And God will, he's going to give it back to you. He's going to give it to you. Right? So I think it's the whole thing of, like, if you show love, you're going to get love. Right? Just like how, he did for us. And so, yeah, I really appreciate you guys for always staying in tuned, for listening to our podcasts. We always appreciate your insights, your comments, your your love. And so, but yeah, we really appreciate y'all.
Yeah. This has been Amado.
This has been Espoir.
Thank you for watching Freedom Express.
I appreciate y'all. You have a blessed day.